Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Also brought a Chillmonger with me.
Hello,
And
hello,
we're
hello. My name is Chillmonger, first of his name. You can go check out my YouTube channel where I asked myself 33 burning questions about the MCU. That was a good live stream. And did you see that?
no, I wanted to watch that, but I didn't. It was actually up in the watch later thing. Like I have it up in one of my tabs, and then you saw I had to reboot my computer before we started this, so I
Yeah.
lost that. But yeah, I got to remember to go back and actually watch that.
Well, I hope everyone else watches it later too.
Nice.
As for now, though, I want to talk about a couple things. I'm gonna bring up Disney Plus. I'm gonna bring up the Ronda Rousey fake fighting. Mark Hamill saying goodbye to Star Wars. We're going to talk about a questionnaire that's been making the rounds, sort of a comic book or nerd challenge. I was challenged by a YouTuber, just a Rican and his comics. And then we're going to talk about the new Warriors and how you people have made them celebrities. And when I say you people, I mean people like you, Professor Bill.
Me? What about you?
Anyone who talked about it, all of us, we have elevated these characters to a status in which they would not have been if it wasn't for its controversial nature and the videos that we were posting. I know
We are.
YouTubers who are not comic book YouTubers who are mentioning it, whether they say SJW propaganda or whether they say this is so insensitive. They're talking about it. These characters are now stars.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but that's what signal boosters are. That's what we've always been. And the more that these companies recognize that, the better they are because they can actually try to influence what we're going to say. What I'm saying, talk to us, give us all interviews, things like that. It would not be a bad thing.
Who's going to be the first writer to put the new Warriors in their books? That's not Daniel Kibblesmith. Who's going to be like, oh, I want to get some of that the rub because you know how Gwenpool is now a mutant and she's on Krakoa now. You seen
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I saw they're going to do that.
It's just because Jonathan Hickman made that story hot. So who's going to be like, oh, these new Warriors are hot. Oh, I'm going to need some Trailblazer in my story just to bump up the sales.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know, dude. Like new warriors, I'd probably write them in just to kill them off. Oh man. So this is something that I've been really looking forward to talking to you about all week is go on.
If you killed them off, wouldn't that be the perfect ending? Because the whole outlawed, hey kid superheroes. What if they last 5 issues? Issue number 5, they all die, and then the rest of the new warriors who are actually above 21 could say, "You see, you champions. If you're too young, you're gonna die. We don't want these guys as a liability." Robbie Baldwin will have a field day with that, so that wouldn't be a bad idea if they all died at issue 5.
Speedball would have a ball with that. Wow, imagine that. Fun. You said field day though. I don't know, man. Because like the way I look at it is, yeah, but this person's name was Snowflake, and they could throw cold like shuriken at people. That person was definitely going to die. Like, that person was definitely dying. Come on, man. This guy was able to put force fields in everybody but himself. Once they shot him, nobody else had a force field. Like they all got themselves killed, bruh. I was saying, like, I'm a soldier. I'm a former soldier. I know exactly how I'm taking down all these guys. You know what I'm saying? Um, what do you call it? I'm lacing this guy's experimental internet gas with some LSD. Once he starts tripping, I start shooting. It's like, and this is how the Punisher takes down the new warriors.
Oh, the Punisher's gonna be the one? Yeah.
Oh, dude, it would be me. It would be me with my Punisher shirt. Oh man, it'd be Scooby snacking on their dead bodies, dude. No, like I don't necessarily want them to. They should probably like getting some kind of freaking accident. Some members should definitely lose their lives. I'm saying because like the idea that these guys come into the freaking scene and they've got their identity politics that they're gonna push on people. Like they called me, we're okay with being snowflakes and safe spaces. We're okay with that, and we're gonna come out and we're gonna throw it back in your faces as we're heroes for everybody. And it's like, you know, Spider-Man is busting his ass trying to keep his identity secret so that he can just save some people. And he's not trying to get into it with Mysterio and all these people. He's just trying to stop bank robbers. But these other guys keep on showing up, which is why we need more serious heroes. And if you're too busy with these flashy costumes trying to be silly and whatnot, you're just going to get yourself and more people killed. This is very childish. When push comes to shove, there should be repercussions for that. And the idea is just the way that these characters were created. I can't wait to see how they're actually going to be written. Because at the end of the day, this is Kibble Smith, who is constantly making jokes and whatnot. And I was talking about how tragically unfortunate it is that these characters were created and announced right before the comic book industry bottomed out and dropped to zero with no sales going out. Zero, because of this COVID-19 thing. And it's messed up.
Well, we're gonna have to wait to see the results of this.
We will, but at the same time, no further information has been put out, and I'm going to be deadpan obvious. Dead straightforward about this. If there is one comic book that Marvel should put out for free, not charge 1 penny for, hey, it's going to be free comic book month pretty soon, right? And they're probably going to have to delay that. They should put out that comic book for free. That first appearance of these characters, they should put that up for free.
That's exactly the reason why it shouldn't be free. First appearance. That's always going to be a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
If it was controversial without the first appearance, because
Mm-hmm.
specs are going to get it for the first appearance,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're this popular, I would agree. But I think that's something you got to make your money on.
Look, man, you can still make that money on those physical copies. But right now, that one comic book should be made available in digital. Yes. Boom. Here you go. Right away. Why? Because that comic book should have been out already. Right?
No, April 15th. April 15th.
Oh, April 15th. Really? Shoot. Well, they need to rush that. So that means this Wednesday it's supposed to have come out.
Yeah, we'll see. The ever progressing, evolving story of Diamond Comics and the distribution methods. There's always something new. You never know.
Yeah. Look, these are characters who were written by, the more you look into Daniel Kibble Smith, this guy's, I think that he's a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? It might only be 1 or 2 million, whatever it is, but he's making some good bank. He's a writer for, what's his face?
Colbert.
Like I said last week, the dude's got a lot of money. He's very prolific. He's out there. His name is out there and all this stuff. I'm going to go back to hot boxing with Mike Tyson. I forget who he was having the interview with. He was talking with somebody, and somebody was asking him about, you were poor and you grew up and you had this, this desire to fight and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, man, my kids were talking about they wanted to get into boxing, and I was laughing about it. I laughed at them. What are you going to do? Who are you going to fight? What do you know about fighting? It's yeah, but we're your sons. Saying we're your children. It's yeah, but so what? I came from the streets. I came from Brooklyn when it was bad, when everybody was robbing and there were gangs everywhere, and you fought for respect. The only way you got any respect was from fighting and from robbing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I had. And I was hungry. I had nothing except my hands. I had nothing. And what do you got?
Privilege.
you got a big house, beautiful neighborhood, lots of houses. You got cars. You got a tiger in the backyard. He didn't say that, but I'm thinking to myself, they got a tiger in the backyard. I mean, hey, man, they can have Joe Exotic in a cage, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? They got money. What do these people know about fighting? You never had to fight. What, a little playground fight? That's not a fight. So what do they know about this? So likewise, Daniel Kibble Smith, he's not gay. He's not bi. He's not trans. He's not anything. He's not even poor. What does this guy know about the world except his elitist friends who he hangs out with and what he tells people is funny, what he tells people is good? He doesn't know anything.
But Luciano Vecchio, I believe I saw on his Twitter, the rainbow. I think he identifies as something that's not straight. I think that guy's on the book also.
Cool.
So a writer and an artist, they're both pretty important.
if the person is being taken, I don't know, like this is literally something just out of the blue that I'm being asked to talk on. If the writer and the storyteller are both, or the writer and the artist are both going to be storytellers in this, cool. Like how much creative control does Vecchio have in
I,
this?
yeah, usually it's today. It's not like that.
Today, it's none. It's like you have none. There's no use for even your imagination. It's like
Mm.
this is how I want everything to be done. You know?
It, what we're talking about now reminds me of something from like 4 podcasts ago, which I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said that, and I disagree with this, but like I think anybody can write a story about anyone. You don't have to be blank to write a story about blank. And I'm like, I'm with that. Like Bendis created her. Whoops.
Right above your head, created Riri Williams.
Riri Williams,
Yep.
Ironheart. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. This is a podcast also for everyone. I pointed at the poster behind me, which you can
That's
see on my channel Chillmonger because it's very prevalent. There's an Ironheart poster.
that's Chillmonger's ASMR voice. How you doing?
There's actually a function on this microphone where you can, have a left ear and a right ear
Yep.
sensitive. Yeah, that's crazy. The Blue Yeti, everybody.
Wow, good.
But back to the original point before I sidetracked. I
Bendis
think that
has a whole lot of kids though. Like he's a huge adoption father. He's got a lot of kids from all different walks of life, different parts of the world and whatnot. He's like an Angelina Jolie. Like
and you
he's
have a
got
lot of black friends. And if you wanted to write Miles Morales, I would be okay with that.
well, so that's the thing though. It's not just the friends. Like I actually grew up in predominantly black neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? When I do write a story, I usually don't think about me being in that story. Not all the time. I think about some young black kid. As dumb as that may sound, that's the world that I grew up in. You know what I'm saying? This is the culture that I grew up in. Like that's it. That's all there is to it. That's what I know. But I'm not so dumb as, and then maybe, because of my martial arts background, I could do something traditionally, with martial arts and whatnot. But I'm not so dumb as to think that since I don't know well, it's not entirely true, but I don't necessarily know a whole lot of people who identify as, I don't even remember what it's called at this point. Don't, like oh, for crying out loud, I'm all over the place here. The David Bowie song where he's like, don't know if you're a boy or a girl. You know what I'm saying? I forget what that's called.
Non-binary?
Is that non-binary? Yeah, if that's the case, then like I know one person who's like that, and I've never even met the person. It's a fan who related that to me in private one time, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that, and I don't want to sit there and start, hey, so what is like, because it's none of my business. If they want to let me know, I'll listen. I'll absolutely listen. But when push comes to shove, like I don't actually know anyone and have a talk with them and hang out with them. So what kind of a jackass, what kind of a self-presumptuous piece of crap would I be if I
Mm.
started writing about something like this? I don't know anything about this. You know?
I got to read the book first to see if it's completely negative, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But my biggest, like, look, black people are black people, white people are white people,
But
Asians,
these are things you're born with,
Latino,
though. You're born an Asian with
100% agreed. And you can hang out with anybody from anybody. Anybody can hang out with anybody. But there's one kind of class that doesn't meet with each other, and that's rich and poor. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Rich people don't associate with poor people.
outside of the
Just
workplace.
even then, like
You
we're
know,
talking about like what level of rich,
oh,
right?
Christmas parties are lit.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. When all the poor people are like, okay, which side of the place does the fork, which fork do I use? Stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
one of the reasons why people used to always have dinners when they're thinking about, promoting somebody in the workplace. Hey, come out to lunch with me and whatnot. Come out to a dinner. Let me
yeah.
see how you act. Do you actually know how to be one of us? We already know you've got what it takes because of, your knowledge and your drive for the company and whatnot. But can you actually associate with us? That's why they would have that dinner party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do I see you stumbling for what this, here's the soup. Now here's the salad. What are you using?
What am I supposed to use? I'm taking notes for the future. What do I need to know?
We'll hang out one of these days after this freaking pandemic is over, and I'll be happy to show you.
So
In
no
the
fork.
meantime, huh?
Soup, no fork.
You're already halfway there, and plus no plastic utensils.
Oh yeah.
But like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, the rich do not associate with the poor. It doesn't happen. Once you get a whole bunch of money, you move into another neighborhood. Once you move into another neighborhood, you get a security system. You know what I'm saying? That's what always happens. And you get worried about leaving your car someplace and whatnot. It's like, you make sure you got one of those alarms that make the toot, toot. There's an alarm on that. I'm saying there's an alarm. And if you live in poor neighborhoods like me, those damn alarms don't mean a goddamn thing because nobody's calling the police. Oh, the alarm's going off. Somebody turn off the freaking. Hey, somebody go get your car. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's more of an annoyance than anything else. Nobody's going to say, an alarm is going off. I should call the police, jackass. Alarms are useless. But like, rich people don't understand that.
Yeah, they don't. They should make shots being fired their alarm because people will call the police for that. That wasn't a joke. That's the real truth. And you know what's horrible?
Right.
You know what's truly horrible?
Mm.
An ambulance will stop and be at the scene, but they won't come out, the paramedics, until they know police are on the scene also, when there could be somebody who's needing of attention.
Dude, in Newark, I know people who work as paramedics, and they were all getting ready to go on strike and they were, mind you, volunteers, but they were getting ready to go on strike because they gave them uniforms with a single yellow stripe going down the side of their pant legs, and it looked too much like a police uniform. Even though they showed up in an ambulance, and there's ambulance sirens and lights going off and whatnot, when they get out to go and try and help somebody, sometimes they would get shot or just in general shot at. You were lucky if you only got shot at because you look like cops. Saying, we don't want you around here. Why are you here? So they were like, you got to get rid of the stripe, otherwise we need to leave. And they would also wear body armor just around their chest, not around their head, which whatever. They have to, be able to have their senses available to help people. And the driver would actually carry a gun on them. I'm not joking when I say this. This is Newark, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even the worst place in New Jersey, so to speak, as far as crime is concerned. Let's have a conversation about Camden. You know what I'm saying? But like, when push comes to shove, rich people don't understand this stuff. They don't know this stuff. They don't know what any of this stuff is. It's like, the worst problems they've got to deal with, when it comes to people who are LGBTQ is like, oh yeah, the glass ceiling and stuff like that. Glass ceiling? What about rape? You know what I'm saying? What about somebody actually being beaten up in the streets because, oh crap, you're trans. Hey, why are you trying to get into the bathroom? Like, I'm not talking about, don't make a comic book based off of stuff that you see on the news. How about the conversations that people actually have? Real people, stuff like that. Hey, maybe Kibble Smith is cool like that. Maybe he's cool and he actually does sit down and talk to people. Maybe he actually did go out and do his research and things like that. But I'm banking that no, he probably didn't. And I would love for him to surprise me and make this into just this comic book that I weep over, because I will cry over a good comic book. I'm emotional enough like that. I'm a big sissy, when push comes to shove. I'm happy to sit down and read a comic book and be like, yo, this is seriously one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. The problem is, I've read enough of Kibble Smith, and I know he's usually just some jackass who's got some ridiculously silly humor that is funny for a little while, and then he winds up putting a live zebra head on freaking Deadpool's arm, and they're trying to steal vibranium from, like, come on, man. This is not funny. This didn't make me laugh. This isn't my kind of humor. And if somebody likes it, awesome. But I get the feeling this is just going to rub people the wrong way, because even just the announcement, how many times do regular human being comic book readers and comic skaters actually agree with each other?
Yeah, it never happens. Yeah. He managed to unite the comic reading world.
Yeah. And with only one advertisement out, dude, they should have announced on April Fool's Day that was just a joke. Just kidding, because we're not that stupid. Or you just release the damn comic book on digital so that we can read the story. Hey, if it winds up being as good as, because like this is Kibble Smith, you know what I'm saying? And this is the way that Marvel hires people, DC too for the most part. But the way that Marvel hires people, everybody's asking, how do you get in to be a writer? You're right. That's what you do. For the most part, you could just be really good at what you do, like a Kelly Thompson. Oh, I used to read a whole bunch of comic books. I used to review a whole bunch of comic books. I started putting together, like fan fictions and stuff like that. Eventually, they saw my stuff and they wound up really liking, my personality. They like my attitude. They like my stories. They like everything that I've done. And I don't know what else she's done. Also, I've never talked to her like that. But like she's put out a lot of stuff, and they're like, you know what? We're going to give you a chance. And boom, it wound up working. Another way you can do it is to sell a whole bunch of books. Like if you write a novel or something like that's how Tom King wound up getting in. Hey, I wrote a novel, and then suddenly DC called me, or Marvel called me and said, hey, you want to come and write for us and stuff like that, And that's what usually winds up happening. So what are they really looking for? They want to know that one, you can write, and two, that you've already got a built-in audience for when you come over.
So is your main problem the non-binary character? If it was just Trailblazer and if it was just the vampire, you probably wouldn't be this hot about it?
I don't know that I'm hot about it. I'm frustrated that this big deal is happening right now and they're not addressing it. That's the thing that's bugging me. It's under my skin a little bit. Admittedly.
They're not spoiling the story of it. I can see it that way, because how often do they actually reveal what their plans is? We're gonna have to wait and read it. And if they do put a negative light on Snowflake and Safe Space, then I gotta ask the question: is it okay to have a character of any background or identification? Do we have to only say nice things about them? Because Daredevil is a Catholic, and he's Catholic, isn't he? Or am I thinking of Nightcrawler? They're both Catholic.
They're both actually Catholic, yeah.
Nightcrawler was Catholic until he wanted to make a new religion for the mutants.
True.
Daredevil,
apostasy. He's an apostate now.
Whatever. So I was turned off by that. We'll use Nightcrawler. Mm-hmm. I think if you're going to use religion, you should only use religion in the positive lights. I don't want to see you bashing another person's religion. You can have him facing challenges with his religion, like, hey, I really want to fornicate, but I'm not, married, so premarital intercourse is not right. What do? I really like her. Like, I want to see that, but don't make the religion look bad. I will always want my religions in comic books to be portrayed positively. So is that what you're saying with non-binary? I only want to see this non-binary story if they do positive reflections of it.
No, not at all. I wouldn't enjoy, some of the best Black Panther stories have been written by Black people.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden Jack Kirby will jump on. He's one of the creators of Black Panther, and he has the 7 Frogs of Solomon or some nonsense like that. It's a stupid ass story, and I despised it.
I think there's not enough white writers of Black Panther for you to make that
one
definitive.
One of the creators. They've also had him in the Avengers, so people writing for him. Like, look, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad. No, there's a bunch of people who can write some really good things. What do you call it? Stan Lee writing Black Panther was great. I loved it. I had zero problems with it. Jack Kirby writing him. I'm not a huge fan of Jack Kirby writing anything. To me, he's not very good with dialogue, but it is what it is. And again, I'm just being in general. I'm saying, to me, some of the best stories being told are the people who get it, who've been there, who've walked that life. Kamala Khan, right? Written by G. Willow Wilson. She probably wasn't going to write a bunch of bad things about it, but she also did write some, bad things, some messed up things in her culture. Her dad, coming down on her hard and things like that, being nitpicky, and she's talking about, Pakistani parents, they're like this and like that and blah, 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 blah. And, saying like they really got into it. And it was like, this feels like an actual teen drama, and I'm down with this. This is good writing. You know, it's where she belongs, where G. Willow Wilson, in my opinion, belongs. Really writing this character that's just, and she's not Pakistani, mind you. G. Willow Wilson's white. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the idea, like, what are you actually comfortable writing? What do you know? What do you actually understand about the people that you're writing? And if you're really going to get into the identity of these characters, which I'm okay with, do you actually understand it? Can you also tell me the bad that goes in it as well? Because that's what's important to me. I know you're not a DC fan, but Simon Baz, that version of the Green
Green
Lantern,
Lantern?
you ever read him?
No.
Dude, consider. Consider.
I
Definitely
have a thing
consider.
against you know, I guess legacy redo characters. Like, oh, there's this other guy who gets a ring. So Hal Jordan has a ring,
I
and
agree.
so does John Stewart and Guy Gardner. And then they're like, no, we need to give a fourth ring to a guy. Here, take
And
this.
Kyle
That's
Rayner. And technically that would have been the fifth one because Alan Scott was the first one. But that's a different ring because that one's based on magic as opposed to science, but emotional science.
like too much is
Yeah.
too much. Like enough is enough. You can't do it over and over again. And I won't care about Simon Baz because I know that Simon Baz will be replaced by a sixth guy who's the hottest thing in the world. So why even care?
Oh, you didn't know about the next female one that came in? Because she's actually really awesome. Anyway,
I told you I didn't even know about the sixth ones because there
plus
would be
there's an
one.
entire universe of, like, every Green Lantern or every sector of space has two Green Lanterns minimum in it. You know what I'm saying? Earth is special. We need extras. But
Was it always two in one sector,
no,
or did
one.
that? It
It
was
was, it
always
was always
one.
one. Then they made it two because they had to keep on making ones for Earth. Like, how come all these other sectors only get one? And we
Yeah.
got, like, four. It's like, well,
Well, that's a good rule change. I like that one. And
yeah,
it's
it is
just
a
a
good one.
coincidence that Earth has two.
Yeah, 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 because they all have two.
Mm.
And the other two from Earth were actually stationed on Oa, so they just stayed there all the time. That's Sector Zero, so you got to have some staying there also. So, yeah. But then they just started making more, and no, I'm okay with it personally. You really, that's the thing. There's good and bad. There's what you said, and I 100% agree. You could just slap a ring on somebody, and here we go. Look, we got a new character. But when you do have like the Flashes and the Green Lantern specifically for me, if they've all got the same powers, the question is how do they use them differently than each other? That same power, how to use it differently, and you really got to focus on the personalities of these characters and maybe the background and all sorts of um, different aspects of the character. You know, when you really get into the Green Lanterns, John Stewart, because of his background, his military background, his architectural studies, the problem that he had with accidentally killing an entire planet, they mold into his decisions as a leader specifically. They fold into who he is and why he's so much different than the other characters. It'd be like just soldiers in the military in general. Hey, you all have for the most part the same guns. You all have the same uniform. You all live in the same general barracks, or everybody looks like each other. Dress right, dress it right and cover down. But you still have individual names and characteristics. So you focus on those instead, and it does make for a really good read.
Yeah.
You can consider it. But I would honestly highly recommend Simon Baz. I think that you would really dig this character because they show good and they show bad. He's not a good person. You know what I'm saying? Well, he doesn't always do good things, but is what it is. Um, anyway, so yeah, just I think that the main difference between Kibblesmith and the rest of us, the major reader base, this guy he's a different class of us. It's not about his race or his religion or his this or his that or the phony little, like the faux ideas that you're going to try and use to separate people. No, 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 no. He's a different class, and like economic class.
Yeah.
And that is very different. You don't eat like us. You don't talk like us. You don't visit the same places that we do, whatever. There is that elitist mentality. And if you don't associate with the same people we associate with, you're not going to get us. And him being the first person to make these kinds of characters kind of crushes me just a little bit. This doesn't ruin my childhood. This doesn't make me, enraged. I'm not going to do that. But it crushes me in the sense that somebody who actually had more than just good wishes, a good meaning, saying, could have actually said, listen, I want to write a comic book character and therefore a comic book about my childhood. I think that would have been something a little bit more moving. That the LGBT community only just recently started to get real rights. And even then, most people it seems like the further you go in that alphabet, of a description, the harder it is for people to get rights. You know what I'm saying? The trans community still gets killed disproportionately at a higher level by police and regular people in the streets because people just don't understand what they're seeing and they completely freak out. And xenophobia everywhere, and wouldn't it be cool if an actual trans person were to write a comic book and say, hey, I'm going to base this character on some of the experiences that I've had when I was younger, let them get into some of the similar threats, conflicts, discussions, whatever. And it doesn't have to be a patty cake thing, but just make a superhero comic book, but every so often have something from my life, my experiences, my friends' experiences, bang. That would actually be something where I could learn from. I could say, oh, could actually open up dialogue. It actually do something for the greater good, which is much like what an X-Men book has always done for me.
I'd like to see that book just to see the sales, but that's probably also why Marvel isn't doing it, because then people could say, you see, it doesn't sell. Like, the chance that possibly could happen is keeping Marvel from doing team books where, hey, look, this member of the team happens to identify as blank, and then you're already stuck reading the team book. Just one character on the thing, it's not going to affect your sale or not. If they actually say, hey, there's this one character who is non-binary, Snowflake, there's a new comic coming out called Snowflake, and we'll see what the sales are for that, and then I can actually say, okay, well, it looks like what they don't want is Comicsgate was right, but you got to take that risk. You got to put your character out, like treat them evenly, just like you would treat every other character, and give them their own solo.
Yeah, you can't always be worried about what Comicsgate is going to say, but sometimes you got to be careful about what comic book or what Comicsgate is going to say. Saying there's got to be that
and
balance.
I'll say it too, and I don't identify as Comicsgate, but if the book does low sales, I can say it looks like there's not an audience for this statistically.
Well, yeah, of course, there necessarily won't be. You know what I'm saying? There's 13% black population in America. You know what I'm saying? You're probably not going to get as many people wanting to buy a black comic book. But does that mean that we don't make black comic books? No. You know what I'm saying? Statistically, you're going to have lesser sales because a black character is probably not going to appeal to a white person as much as,
But I bet statistically, Black Panther has more black readers than another comic.
Yeah, probably, especially after that amazing movie. But this is one of the reasons why the X-Men was so good. You think about the character Dust. You know what I'm saying? This is a character who wound up pissing off everybody for the most part.
Really?
The comic skater types, they looked at this character like, what the hell, man? I don't have to explain that, right? Obviously, they're going to have a problem with that. And then you look at the actual Muslims who are reading this. It's like, wait a second. Some others were like, there were other Muslim people who read the comic book and they saw that, oh, wait a second, but she takes off her abaya and she takes off her hijab, and she has her hair showing and stuff like that. And they shouldn't show this stuff. And it's like, but she's a regular human being and it's a comic book and she's not in public doing this stuff. It's in private and they're showing her hair and it's not real. It's just pencils on. There's always going to be people who are going to complain.
There was one time when Rockslide saw her and he's like, hey, I can see you without your headscarf thingy. And okay, so what? Yeah, the mansion was being attacked and she had to come out of her room and oh my God, he saw her. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Come on, guys.
There shouldn't be.
Comicsgater invented her. I think that was an EVS book that he drew.
He drew it. I don't know how much stake it, because I know that's something that Comicsgater will say all the time. Oh, didn't know that, did you? Oh, now what?
Oh, do they? It's like Abraham Lincoln was a Republican president. He's the one who signed up.
Exactly. It's like, the Republicans weren't Republicans back then, right? Like, come on, man. They didn't appeal to the same audience at the time. But anyway,
Hey,
yeah.
by the way, I'm very anti-political. The Dems and the Republicans are full of it.
Yep.
Vote Bernie Sanders in your primaries. I know you don't want me to say that because I'm not supposed to tell people who to vote for. I know you don't like that.
Whatever it is, what it is. I'm voting for Bernie.
You can
and
vote.
you can't vote because
No.
you're not American.
So how do you do your voting?
I got to do mail-in.
Hmm.
Yeah, I got to do absentee ballot. So
Okay.
that's what it is. Oh, and then of course there's gonna be the people saying, "Well, it's a wasted vote." Shut up, please shut up. Go bury your freaking head in the sand. God, these people. I got to do another Twitch thing. I just did a Twitch video last week where I just talked about politics. Like, guys, this isn't even. Hey, guys, Professor Bill, comic book, class dismissed. I didn't even do any of that stuff. I was just
What's
like,
your name
nope,
on Twitch?
it is Comic Book University. I kind of wish I would have did something different, but it's just like, hey, if you want to see me talking about comic books, but yeah, so is what it is.
It's good for branding to keep it all consistent.
Yeah. I already created the channel last year. I just never did anything with it, but it is what it is. Hey, did you hear that Alterna Comics is not going to be working with Diamond anymore?
Good. That's one.
They don't have a whole lot out there, but they did look at it as, we put too much faith in Diamond, and Diamond failed us. So we're cutting Diamond out of our lives. They said, even if they get back to the norm before we do, we don't care. Starting next month, all of our comic books are going to be directly from us to individuals and to comic book stores. We're not doing Diamond anymore.
It's only taken them 30 days to get there.
Yeah.
So how long is it going to take for Marvel and DC to get there? Exactly.
Well, they have a lot more to put out. They have a lot more. Like, you can't just trust the post office to do all of that. But yeah.
Marvel, or I should say Disney and AT&T are too big to rely on this third-party Diamond. They always needed a reason not to, and here it is. Just find your own way. They could team up and make a comic book distributor that's not called Diamond, that's called, insert name here, and they can distribute the books from Image to Image. What you used to give to Diamond, it costs less to go through us. They're going to be closed until like July and August. So go through us in May, and they'll say yes. Dark Horse will say yes. And if they're still around, if some of these companies are still up.
I don't remember if I told you last podcast, but Marvel tried to do that before Disney bought them.
Yeah.
Marvel did try to do it on their own, and it just didn't work. They didn't have enough people into it. It cost them way too much money. They weren't expecting it to be the way that it was, but they failed at doing it.
With Disney now, they just got to play the long game. It'll cost money to get done now, but let's if they look at the comic book industry, if Disney looks at the comic book industry as part of the movie industry, then they got to realize it's a profitable thing. But if they look at it like, man, you guys only brought in millions this year rather than billions, then
tens of millions. Yeah.
When Thor, I was telling Ernie this, when Thor Love and Thunder comes out and it makes $1 billion, it's not going to get credited. The comic book industry won't. Like 2014's comic book numbers are somewhere in the 300 millions, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's not $1 billion. When that movie comes out, and most of it is based on a comic book that was written by this guy named Jason Aaron, is he even going to get a little bit of money from that? No. Is the comic book division of Marvel going to be considered for, that money? No. It's a horrible mentality that I think they have over there. Maybe with Kevin Feige being COO of all of Marvel, comic books and movies and television, maybe he sees it that way. I hope he does. He's a fan. He probably understands that these books get adapted into movies and they're one and the same. I hope that that's the new mentality moving forward. And so that this investment in the new distribution will pay itself off, and it will be considered a wise investment for the industry and keep them in. If this incident ever happens again, it'll keep them in business.
Yeah. About that, I kind of hope that he's got a lot of understudies, because in case Feige dies, like if he got COVID-19 and died, saying like what happens to Marvel? What happens to the MCU? Because there just seems to be way too much emphasis on Feige, and there can't be. Can't do that. Can't do that to yourselves.
After we lost Kobe, man, that's saying something like if Kevin Feige dies of COVID-19, like all of a sudden it's not unbelievable anymore. Anyone can go at any time. That's just a reminder. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about that, but like, that's me. I'm a prepper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Who's second in line at Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
Russo brothers, maybe? Nah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I'd give it to a writer.
I guess. Maybe. But what do you call it? What was the other thing? The idea of if I'm in charge of Marvel, if I've got a say, then I'm trying to make some kind of a deal with one of the shipping industries. I'm looking at FedEx. I'm looking at DHL. I'm looking at freaking UPS, whatever. And I'm saying, hey, listen, how many unused trucks do you have?
Yeah.
How many trucks do you think that you can deliver? Like if I send a plane here, how many trucks do you have that can bring that product out to, let's say, here? So that all these people can come and pick up their stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like if we, like for instance, we got to take care of the eastern side of Canada. If we send something out to the YYZ, out to Pearson International Airport, we drop off, a whole bunch of, whatever. We have a freight plane that comes in, on there is this big, a couple of crates full of our comics. Can you get, make sure that you've got devoted 7 trucks, whatever the heck it is, to deliver to your warehouse, whatever. And then from your local warehouses, deliver them out to all of your individual places. Or maybe they can just come to your place and pick them up. Do you think that you could do that for us? Yeah. Get that exclusivity. Take advantage of what's already on the ground.
Yeah.
As far as the other countries and whatnot, we're going to put it on a sail barge, you know what I'm saying? Or send it in a plane. I don't know what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? And just, we're going to get it out to you and bang, you're going to be golden. And then we got to work with your individual ground game guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you that conversation has been had already.
We were just talking before we went on air about how rich people aren't always as smart as we give them credit for. You always see somebody who's like, really rich and whatnot. It's like, Jeff Bezos. Oh my God, this guy must be so smart. This guy's a jackass. He just goes around getting married to women, thinking they're not going to divorce him and take him for, a third of his money. You know what I'm saying? Like, which happened to him already. I think he's already remarried. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, nah. Rich people are not any smarter than poor people. Some people just get super lucky, and most of them are just trust fund babies. They get a huge inheritance, and you couldn't make them poor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just what it is.
The trust fund babies.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who own Disney. Speaking of Disney, that's my horrible segue. Disney Plus has 50 million subscribers. This was a goal that they set for 4 years from now. They achieved that within the first year. Congratulations to them. If you go on Disney Plus today, you'll see that the avatars which you can choose I think Iron Man used to be one of them.
Yep.
But apparently
I have Darth Vader.
Do you? There it is. Yeah, I used Phineas
because I'm Big Daddy Cool. My name is Big Daddy Cool on the thing. Shut up. Anyway, go on, Phineas.
Oh, I just wanted to say that the X-Men, specifically the ones from the animated series, which you can watch on Disney Plus, they are now available as avatars. Jubilee, Gambit, Storm, Jean Grey. These are now available, meaning that I think the audience has spoken, and a lot of us have been watching the X-Men, the animated series, and they want to appease that community, which means they realized just how powerful and valuable the X-Men are going into, I guess, phase 5. So maybe what used to be a Disney Plus series for like, any other character, maybe the Thunderbolts, maybe they're like, oh, we'll push Thunderbolts back a year. We're gonna do this Academy X to show a day in the life in the mansion, or a Krakoan, or I don't know, but they'll do some X-Men related stuff on Disney Plus coming up.
Be nice.
Mm.
Definitely be nice. Like there's so much they could do, man. Just talking with the writer. Basically what we try to do.
Yeah. Speak up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I apologize. There we go.
Better.
A little better.
Yeah.
Cool. So what else?
We got Ronda Rousey calling wrestling fake fighting, and Lexi Kaufman, that would be Alexa Bliss, since she thinks wrestling's real. She's really taking that negatively. It's not just her, it's Nia Jax, it's everyone. This is coming from someone who wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fake fight. And Ronda Rousey fought for real for years and years and years. When she calls it fake fighting, that's what she means.
Mm-hmm.
If your wrestling injury was real, that does not legitimize the combat that is being shown. It's there was an accident in the performance of perceived fighting, but the wrestling is not real. So when she calls it fake fighting, get over it, guys. Wrestling fans, it's not offensive. It's not, oh my god, this makes what I watch bad. No, it's fake fighting. It just happens to be great. Also, we can like it both.
Yeah, there's a lot there with the wrestlers, because traditionally wrestlers have always been their characters.
Yeah.
Like you think about Rowdy Piper, who's a big tough guy, and I wouldn't want to get into a fight with Roddy if he was still alive. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a tough SOB, but like he didn't want to lay down for Mr. T. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, this guy's not real. It's like, you're not real. What are you talking about? TV's not real. If it's on TV back in the day, it wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? Except boxing. And even then, there's the fixed fights. Sumitomo, the sumo wrestlers, those guys, it turns out they're not real.
Oh.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like people found out it wasn't real, and a bunch of Sumotomos committing suicide because they were shamed, they were found out, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a real fight. Look, they are legitimate performers. You know what I'm saying? They are legitimate sports entertainers. They are legitimate sportsmen.
Athletes.
They are legitimate athletes, but like I don't look at the Matrix and say, that's just not real. I know it's not real. And I still love to watch it. It is what it is.
Let's get over that. It does not in any way make what you like crap. It's not delegitimizing the entertainment of it.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point freaking Keanu Reeves got hurt on the set of The Matrix. That doesn't suddenly make bullet time real. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make freaking Agent Smith like really able to go in and out of the freaking Matrix and stuff like that. Like, it's just not. Yeah. So, but at the same time, hearing the word fake, like, this is a trigger for us wrestling fans. You know what I'm saying? Myself included. It's like, it's kind of a hard word. It's kind of a hard word to use. You know what I'm saying? You want to say fake fighting, that's actually better than just saying in general the sport is fake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know. It's scripted. It's all scripted. We're okay with the word scripted. When you say fake fighting, though, that's more specific. It's not just the general fake term. It's fake fighting. Yes, this is fake fighting.
Because the ropes hurt. When you run against the ropes, it'll leave you burn marks, especially when you get started. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. But at the same time, it is a way of really crushing, kayfabe, as it were. Like, look, here again, this is just my opinion. When the Undertaker comes down, and you're apparently more of the Jim Cornette school of thought. Saying I love seeing Orange Cassidy coming down. And fight. I love Orange Cassidy. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I know he does seemingly delegitimize things, but they do it in such. AEW does it in such a great way. That fight that he had up against the Bastard was freaking phenomenal. This was just like 2 months ago or something like that. I was watching it with Ernie. That's the Blurred Without Fear. Go check out the YouTube channel, Blurred Without Fear. He's also on Twitch playing video games every so often. Totally cool people. Go give him a check out. But Cassidy, like he comes in and he's doing his fake little thing, and then the bastard goes and like, he's like playing along back with them, and then he just gets rough and he starts, beating him up, and then Cassidy comes out with an adrenaline burst and starts like really, making air quotes now, really fighting him back, and it's like this was a beautiful, not
Yeah.
beautiful, this was a really great story. I love the way they did this. They still have his style being what it is, but then they have, the bastard not being embarrassed in this. I really like this. I like this a lot.
I'll take it. Anything
Yeah.
post 1997, you can't tell me, because 97 is when Bret Hart went on TSN, a Canadian sports network, and
Mhm.
admitted wrestling was fake. I was supposed to win that match, and they screwed me out of the title. That's when that happened. Anything
Even
post
before
90,
that, what do you call it? When you look at the behind the scenes stuff, business, Vince McMahon had to explain to insurers because the insurance salesman, they were like, we can't assure you. Like, we can't because, like, you guys are doing some crazy stuff. It's like, there's no different than, other sports. Is actually, we have less injury prone than them because we're not really hurting each other and things like that. It's like, listen, you go out and you put this out live, like you go out and you explain to people this on the air or something like that, then fine, we're good. So he had a news conference. He's not going to do it on his channel. He's not going to do it on Raw, but he did have a news conference where he explains to people, listen, we're going to call it sports entertainment because they're not really fighting. They're not really have a grudge and stuff like that. They did it for
when?
insurance purposes. Oh,
What year?
I don't remember which year it was. Sure, we can check it out.
Because
But
I
like, I remember
remember,
when this happened.
I think in 97, early 97, they were in Kuwait, and was it Vader who smacked a reporter
Yes.
for alluding to it being fake? Undertaker was up there uh,
Yep.
in that interview saying, "Well, it's entertainment, guys," and
Yeah.
then Vader just comes up and
But
stands
Vader
up.
got detained for how long? Like, he was there for a
Months.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't mess around in a country like that, dude. This isn't a freaking John Stossel interview. You can't just smack the guy and walk away. So, yeah,
Doctor Death, right?
yep. um, man, that was just something else.
Yeah, wrestling's fake, everybody. Okay, Mark
Wrestling is
Hamill,
fake fighting. It's
fake
fake
fight.
fighting.
It's a
But
fake
even then,
sport.
that being said, I do think that Ronda does take it a bit too far because at the end of the day, it's like she's saying the same thing. I mean, she's doing the same thing. She's fake fighting when she gets up there, and she's making good money for doing it. Like I said, when I see the Undertaker, doing his entrance and the lights going on and off, that is just awesome. I love seeing that. And the what do you call it? The UFC has incorporated a lot of that a lot of times. You know,
Do their fighters have fireball powers and lighting and druids who just appear out of nowhere? Undertaker's too fake for me. He's so unlegitimate. But the thing is, like the Boneyard match, as cool as that was,
mm-hmm,
the coolness was so cool
mm-hmm.
that it made me go, okay, I'll accept it just because I enjoy it so much. But when you got something like the other one, the Firefly Funhouse
Firefly
match,
Funhouse one. Oh my god.
where at least with the Undertaker, AJ Styles was a regular Homo sapien with no powers or anything. In this one, John Cena was playing along, like he swiped at Bray Wyatt
Mm-hmm.
and was I can't control myself. Oh my god, I can only speak in rap music. I can only rap. Like when you're using powers and the other guy is playing along, then it's just completely ridiculous because it's, and I wasn't enjoying it enough for me to oversee or to give that a pass. Like with a Matt Hardy match, I'll take the Lake of Reincarnation if I get to see all of these guys in their past gimmicks. Papa Shango, Godfather,
Mm-hmm.
Kama Mustafa. Like I'll take that because it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about that. So I guess I have a loophole. I have flaws in my wrestling be legitimate mentality.
Yeah. The thing for me is I love the idea of it. I love the idea of the storytelling and all this stuff because that's the way I see it. The thing is, like, I'm gonna get like I don't care if it's a Riddick movie, like a Pitch Black, Riddick movie, or the Fast and the Furious, one of those movies, or the Matrix, whatever you're fit. Like if it's a Star Trek movie, I'm sitting there watching a Star Trek movie, cool, it's awesome, blah 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 blah. If all of a sudden Ray comes out of nowhere and says, "Yeah, you guys are, fake fighting with these, glow tubes and whatnot and all the special effects," I'm like, you literally just took me out of this.
Yeah.
It's like you just took me out of this, and this is Yeah, this is where this is like the crossing the line thing. It's like, dude, I want to be immersed in the fantasy, and when you rip me out of it, it's like now it's like, you know what? This is like with spoilers with me. I love watching, I don't care if it's wrestling match or, if you like watching basketball. If you are working during the time, well, you get to watch it while you're working. But like if you're on the road or something like that, and then you come home and it's like an hour later, crap, I'm going to catch the game. I was TiVoing it or whatever, they call it nowadays when you record the freaking, show. Oh, I'm going to watch my, my sports now. You don't want somebody to, contact you, be like, oh man, Lakers, they killed it. You're like, no! You're going to stay off of social media and all that stuff. Or if you have a friend who does stuff like that, you're going to mute the person or something like that, And this is the point where it's like, dude, you know what? I can't have anything to do with Ronda Rousey on this. I'm not mad at her, but I literally look at it as you're not playing along the way that everybody else is playing. And the only thing that when all the other wrestlers are saying you don't fit in, you don't fit in. And you being able to kick everybody's ass, welcome to the real world where you can't do that. Okay, you're a legitimate fighter. Cool. Go back to your cage because that's where you belong. Go back to your little octagon because you don't fit in with the people in the ring. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference there. You don't enter another world just to shit on the world. You don't do that. It's like grow up, have a little bit of control, and maybe learn a little bit of acting. Let's face it, Ronda Rousey is not a great actress. Whenever people are talking about, oh, Ronda Rousey for She-Hulk, she could do it. No, 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 no. She looks like it. She doesn't have the acting chops to pull off a freaking Jennifer Walters. Let's face it. And she definitely doesn't have the emotional regulation. She's really out of control. She's also a conspiracy theorist. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a prepper. She's a
What kind of
prepper.
conspiracy theorist? Like Bigfoot or like 9/11?
I wouldn't be surprised about the Bigfoot. That's how
Oh,
freaking crazy she is. Her and her husband. Okay. And yeah, they could beat me up. They could beat me up. Welcome to the real world where I'll pull a gun and I will freaking shoot them between the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the real world where if she even makes the threat to me, I will have her arrested. Welcome to the real world. You want to play in the real world? There's a real world. Nobody cares that she could beat me up in real life. I believe she could beat me up in real life, but she can't. You know why? Because if she does, I will sue her. It's as simple as that. Welcome to the real world. I am not going to step into her octagon, but she keeps on stepping into the ring and dumping all over it. When the people in the locker room say you don't fit in, you don't fit in. You remember that one? What's the most recent Tough Enough that they had? The one guy who was the Yeti. He had the long hair and he would do
yeah.
the little. You know what I'm talking about. He got kicked out of the locker room.
Josh was his name. He
I
got
don't
kicked
remember.
out.
He got
Oh,
kicked out of the locker room because he goes and he says something. He was in NXT and he says something to someone. I forget who it was. Says something to somebody about, oh, you're going to be a jobber now. They don't let you're not in. You're not one of the in crowd. You're not one of the in boys. So when everybody was talking about, oh, like even Kevin Owens, who Kevin Owens has a temper like Ronda Rousey. You know what I'm saying? In real life, has a temper like her. A little bit more control. So like, not the exact same. Anyway, he was like, dude, you know what? Have fun changing your clothes out in the hallway. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that he's not in NXT anymore.
yeah.
But that was the deal. He never got brought up to the main roster. Probably will never. You know, so he's probably just done. Because at the end of the day, the boys were like, dude, you just don't fit in. And if you don't fit in, like that's one of the reasons why you can get fired at work. You don't fit in with everybody.
Okay, but Ronda Rousey is a celebrity, and I see everything that she adds, and I don't blame her for injuring Alexa Bliss or injuring anybody. She shouldn't have been put in that position if she is so unskilled. But the company is like, we got to make do with what we have. Here, let's put her in the ring with Alexa Bliss. You know who she didn't injure? When she wrestled Natalia in an unprepared match. They just called it on the spot. They felt each other out, and they spoke to each other in the ring, saying what wrestlers say in the ring. That match went off without
They
a
were
hitch.
calling their spots.
Yeah, but if you guys don't know what that means, that just means that they were communicating with each other in the ring. They knew who would win and who would lose, but getting there, they just kind of felt each other out. They would reverse holds when the other person would indicate it's time to reverse holds, things like that. So she did that with Natalia, a skilled wrestler,
Yes.
and nothing happened. She injured Alexa
Trained in the
Bliss's
trained in the
elbow.
dungeon.
Trained
Yeah,
in the dungeon.
well, Alyssa Bliss also has that thing with the dislocatable elbow, whatever. It can like hyperextend,
Double jointed, yeah.
double jointed. There you go. Like Randy Orton's shoulders. You know what I'm saying? She can hyperextend it, and she was literally doing that for the sake of putting Ronda over. Like, oh look, she broke my elbow. You know what I'm saying? So
You know what pisses me off? I saw that first on a SmackDown match, I think, with Becky Lynch, and I felt like that's a
yes,
pay-per-view finish. You don't just waste something that is so cool that her elbow happens
yeah,
to overextend. I would have saved that stuff. But that's just the mentality of a wrestler.
yeah, agreed. The
You know
thing
what?
is, you
Yeah.
go into wrestling knowing that it's fake, knowing that it's scripted. You know what I'm saying? And you want to be immersed in that. I would hate it if I'm sitting here watching Avengers Endgame and like all of a sudden that scene where like the hammer gets lifted and it gets thrown. Everybody's like, "What the hell? Who's doing it? Is that Cap? Is that Cap?" And he gets hit, and it comes back. Yeah, exactly. And he catches it and turns around. Everybody's like, "Woohoo!" That one jackass who just kept on doing that. Woohoo! You know, and the Twitter thing you keep on seeing.
Yeah.
But I get it. Everybody, like, I fist pumped hard. I didn't make any noises, but I fist pumped hard 3 times. Like, yes. And I was like, "Should I do it a fourth? No, hold back. Oh my god!" But I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is great." Now imagine if some jackass got up and was like, "This is fake." We would all beat the crap out of that person. And it's a dark theater and nobody's going to recognize us. So we could just walk out. I'm saying they would find him after we left because we would stuff him under one of the seats. We would beat the living shit out of it because, like, dude, what are you doing right now? There's a time and a place for that. And if Rhonda doesn't get it, she's the oddball.
But she's not doing it during the performance, during the movie. She's doing it afterwards on Twitter. All she's doing is telling the truth. That's how I feel about that.
But why? To what extent?
I'm sure I didn't see the interview actually. I don't know. Maybe but calling it fake fighting is something I do all the time. And I've been in arguments with other fellow wrestlers who go, "Well, this book, is it fake? If I hit you, does it hurt?" And stupid things like that. I don't get it. It's okay to call it fake, and it's okay to like it. They can be both. They can be fake and good.
But like
Mark Hamill,
when she's outside of the freaking match and she's, you know, like on Twitter trying to like, you know, push out the fans and whatnot.
but you just said it earlier. She is different. She doesn't belong.
Yeah, she doesn't.
But that's a good thing. To differentiate herself from the rest of the roster is something you can market.
Nah, you've heard that
term. Getting worked.
You've turned. I'm not getting worked. I literally just don't care. When you've heard the difference between heat and X-Pac heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you really want that kind of nuclear heat where literally people are just like, no, I don't want her to win or lose or whatever. I just don't want to see her in the matches anymore. Nia Jax had to take that break for a while because she was totally in character. She was doing what she was told to do. Oh yeah, you broke Becky's face. Becky is the most beloved person in wrestling right now. Male, female, doesn't matter. She's the number one person in wrestling right now. People go crazy when Becky Lynch, when that whoa, people are like, ah! You know, they freak out. You know what I'm saying? And Nia Jax, a person who people liked, she punched her in the face and she screwed up and hit the most over wrestler out there. Broke her face, like her orbital, not just her nose, broke her orbital, like jacked her face up. And then afterwards, to work a, you know, to act like it's a shoot, whatever. She's working the match. She's making jokes like, you know, I broke your face. In real life, I'm sure she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Mm-hmm. But just that, like it didn't work. And unfortunately the fans got upset because they did get themselves worked up over it.
Yeah. I think WWE should take advantage of real things just to help. And if she really broke her nose, go ahead. Yes, it's okay. But when it comes to a punch, I got to ask myself, well, why does her punch break noses? But she's punched people before, or orbital bones and everything. She's punched people before and they've been fine. So why is it this one time she punched Becky Lynch? Oh yeah, because it's fake. And so I don't know how they should take advantage of the whole I broke Becky's face, but I don't think the way that they did it was the right way to do it.
Agreed.
And Nia Jax will come back and Becky Lynch still has unfinished business with her. That's from a year ago. That's from a full, maybe even a year and a half. That was during the Survivor Series brawl. So Survivor Series in November. Yeah. It's been a while.
It has, but people still remember it. And she's only just now getting ready to come back,
Good.
Nia Jax. You know what I'm
Trailblazer.
saying?
Trailblazer.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
that's messed up, man.
that is rude.
But anyway,
Mark Hamill and his fake lights tube lightsaber. He says he's putting it down, and I don't want to be worked. I think that it was his feet at the end of that Mandalorian episode in Tatooine, and he'll be back in Mandalorian de-aged.
maybe.
It's not like he has something else. It's not like, hey, I'm retiring from Star Wars, everybody, because I have to do this project. That's not happening. He just kind of said, I'm gone.
No, he's a voice actor. He could get work doing anything.
But he didn't announce, I'm doing the Joker's series full time. Sorry, guys.
What's Harrison Ford doing lately?
I think he has Indiana Jones. Maybe that was been delayed, but he has that coming up.
And he wants to die in that one also. He liked Indiana Jones better than Star Wars too. But he said, like, listen, I'll come back and I'll do the freaking, death of whatever in the Last Jedi, and I just want to be done with it. And he wound up coming back in the most recent one again. I guess he was paid a lot to do that. Like, please, please come back, please. But anyway, like he's done. He just doesn't want to play Han Solo anymore. It's not like he's got a whole lot of other things going for him. He just wants to hang out and go rescue people in his helicopter, man.
He does that?
He actually does.
Huh.
He hangs out in his helicopter, he flies around, and every so often somebody gets trapped in a mountain, and there are too many people, too many mountain rangers, whatever they're called, rescue operators tied up. So he's like, yeah, I'm in the neighborhood. I'll stop by and I'll grab him. And it's like, oh my God, I'm being rescued by Han Solo.
Is it Han Solo rescuing you, or is it Indiana Jones?
Yeah, if you're not gonna say my real name of Harrison Ford, can you at least call me Indiana Jones? Because I don't like Star Wars. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, he actually does that. So, and he just doesn't want to be bothered. He wants to live off of the royalties of the money that he's forever going to get. He just wants to chill.
I can vibe with that.
Yeah.
Let's do the comic book nerd challenge. It's about 25 questions, everybody.
Oh boy, here we go. So Chillmonger sent me this thing on private message on Twitter, and he's like, I want to do this thing with you. Check it out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to open this thing, but definitely do the challenge for me. All right. Nice. So you know all the questions. I only know that there's 25. And it's about, what is it? To know if you're a comic book nerd?
Yes.
Okay.
First question. It's 25 of them. We'll see who's the bigger nerd. I bet I want to actually lose this challenge. I want it for you to be the bigger nerd.
Bigger nerd? Okay.
Have you ever nitpicked a book over its condition?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest on condition nowadays, but back in the day, yeah, I was really caught up in the whole overstreet price guide and, it's got to be in new mint and near mint at least. And yeah.
I would have answered no, except for the very last week that comics were open. I saw one and I'm like, hey, the page is in here. Why does it look like this? And the guy's just like, all right, just take a book from the back. I'm like, okay. Have you ever sniped anyone on eBay?
Hells yes.
Ooh.
Hells yes. I don't need a program for that, dude. I'll be sitting there like, bam. I don't really buy comics off of eBay too much anymore. I do have 6 of them coming in though, and I've been waiting a month, and I'm really mad I don't have them yet. But hey,
that's a no from me. Have you ever paid over 100 for a book or gone over your budget?
Not over my budget, but I have paid more than that for a book. Yeah,
over your budget.
When I finished basic training, but I was getting ready to go into AIT also. So this is in the Army. There's basic training. There's the 1 week of retention where you get your shots and all the stuff. Then there's 8 weeks of basic training, and then you go on for your MOS. That's your so your AIT is your advanced individual training. There's like about a period of 4 days in between, and my mom was actually allowed to visit. My mom and my sister were allowed to visit me for 2 of those days. And it's like, yes! So we got to hang out and stuff like that. And I was like, I need to go to a comic book store. And we went, and they were selling the Incredible Hulk issue number 181. And they were selling it for only
the second appearance of Wolverine.
The first full appearance of Wolverine, yes. Again, I honestly don't care. I'm trying to be cool to all the fanboys who are out there. Anyway, it's the first full appearance, of Wolverine, first cover appearance as well. So yeah, and I think they were selling it for like $350. I'm like, oh, because I've always seen it for like $700 to $750 every place else. I'm like, oh, this is a steal. And I literally had all of this money from the military that I wasn't doing anything with. So
it's good to be young. Yeah,
it really was. And I was like, listen,
no kids.
Yeah. And I wrapped it up hard. And I was like, Mom, when you go back home, take this with you and just put it in my room. Don't put it on top of my bed because the dog might jump on and stuff like that. Just please go put it someplace and don't forget where it is. Oh, actually, I had a metal filing cabinet. Duh. I was like, just open it up and put it in there and close it and just walk away. Walk away. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
You ever complained about specking or flipping?
What do you mean complain about it?
I don't make the questions. Ever complained about like speckers?
We just did it on the podcast, several times.
Yeah.
We complained about flippers and all that.
I'm kind of for it. I kind of like speckers. I think
know.
that it's the industry's fault for not making things known to the public.
Mhm.
Have you ever given or received a comic as a gift?
Received a
Yeah, you
comic
did.
as a
You got
gift.
it from Derek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Recently, in fact, somebody was going to send me the first appearance of Bloodshot. It didn't happen because it was right when COVID-19 happened, but it's a thought that counts. What do you call it? Paula just sent me I still have them like right there. I'm looking at them outside my room. All of the trade paperbacks for The Boys. Yeah, she spent a pretty penny to send those. Like, wow. Yeah, I still to this day get comic books as gifts because people know a good gift.
That's a yes for me too. As an adult, have you ever decorated your home in comic paraphernalia? I'm going to say yes to that one, obviously.
I'm looking behind you right now, and yeah, when just you can see behind me. Hello. If I were to say no, people would be like, "Well, then what's all that?" But like, shh, you gonna believe me or your lying eyes?
Have you ever skipped work to read or buy comics? Now, you said you were on break when you went to get that Hulk 181.
Yeah, we were in a 4-day. We had 2 days off base and then 2 days on base that we could do that. Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing. Skipped work for a comic book, not a movie.
Yeah.
I've called out sick on work to go see The Phantom Menace, but not for a comic book. No.
Me neither. Have you ever paid to go to a con?
Hell yeah.
I think when they say con, they mean like the big ones. I've never gone to one of the big ones. I've gone to a regular convention where you can get your comics, and that's actually where I spent the most money. I've never spent $100 on a book, but I think I spent $10 on a single issue because I wanted it so badly, but I wasn't going to go over.
What issue was it?
I think it was an Invincible Iron Man with Iron Heart. It was issue number 1 of it. It was like a $10 book. I said, why not?
Nice. That's a good price.
So I've never paid to go to a con. I'm going to say no to that one. Ever paid to get an autograph or photo or a sketch?
Yep.
It's a no from me. Have you ever bought multiple copies of a book?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got 2 Outlaws.
Nice. Yeah, Death of Superman. My mother actually purchased 5 of each for me. There's the sealed and the unsealed. She bought me 5 of each. Like, Mom, you should have bought 9 of the sealed and 1 of the regular so I could read it. It's like, actually, just buy 10 of the sealed and I'll open one up because I want to see what's inside. It wasn't until years later I found out what was inside. There's like an armband that you can wear for, Superman's death and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's creative.
That is. It really is.
How about multiple covers for a book?
I grew up when X-Men #1 by Jim Lee came out. Yeah.
Yes, I've done that too. Ever complained about downsizing your collection for space? Yes.
Yeah. You're not like at the end of the day, if you answer no to that, you fail the whole test.
You ever sent a book in for grading?
No,
CGC?
I've never done that.
Me neither. How about for cleaning or pressing?
No, I've never done that. I've seen the process. I've hung out with these people and stuff like that for both the previous and this question. I know how the process works, but no, I know how to press them at home, but I don't bother.
A comic's value is not based on the press or things like that. It's based on whether I liked that story or not.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. For me, that's correct. Everyone's different. Have you ever bought chases or store exclusives? I don't even know what a chase is, but I know Gotham Central's got some store exclusives when I went
Yeah.
there.
I don't know what a chase is either. I'm not familiar with that term. Might be like a specific like region term, but yeah, store exclusives, absolutely. Yeah.
You ever traded comics?
Have I
No.
ever traded comic books? I've never sold one of my comic books. I've given my comic books away. I still to this day I'll give away a bunch to local hospitals. But
Ever got
and
something back for it?
just the reward of knowing that some kids were going to get some awesome comic books.
It's a no. Ever waited in line or waited to get tickets for a comic book movie? Not specifically in a line. That could be if you're on a queue on Cineplex's website.
Only for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
It's not a comic book movie. It's just a movie.
They make a comic book for Star Wars.
I'm gonna say yes to that one.
The closest I can say. Which one were you waiting for?
I never waited though, because as soon as I saw tickets available now at 8 o'clock in the morning, I
Mhm.
got there, I got my tickets, and I got my endgame tickets real quick. Every time I've ever done it, it's always been so early, nothing crashed, and I was never in a queue. But I
Mm.
feel like I qualify.
Yeah. I usually get them online so that I don't have to be bothered with it. And I've gotten invited to see premieres every so often. But for the most part, no. Like the only one I can like, I'm not talking about going and it's like, oh, there's a couple people in front of me, blah blah blah. No, I'm talking about like actually like, okay, the place opens in 4 hours or 2 hours, whatever it is. I'm going to stand in this line, and it was for Star Wars because like there's a legacy behind standing in line for Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Like there's a history for it. You can actually look it up and like the creative things that people do. And it was me and my bud Mark, and we stood there for hours and we were joking about it, laughing about it. It went by so quickly, and it was just awesome. We got up there, and when they finally said, "Hey, so how many tickets do you need?" and blah 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 blah, and that's when we finally realized, well, for opening day, which is going to be on a Wednesday, we'll take the what's the first showing? Okay, cool. And what's the next showing immediately after that one's over in
Uh-huh.
the same theater? Because we'll take one of those also. So we wound up doing that. We're really disappointed when we saw Jar Jar Binks, but it is what it is. We literally sat in the same seat. We didn't want to move our seats or anything for two showings of the Phantom Menace and all that stuff, and we waited in that line for about 4 hours. Yeah, and it was a great experience. It really was. I really do wish I would have done like the overnight thing with some people, just because I could say, like I had the I was an engineer at the time. I could take off any amount of time for work that I wanted to. And it was a really fun experience.
Have you ever gotten in a fight or a physical confrontation over comics?
I have a tendency again to fight over anything, so I would like to say yes. I just can't think of anything offhand. I know that I've made peace treaties over comics. My buddy Terrell and I one time we actually got into a fist fight in the lunchroom. I had a squirt gun that could fit in my hand, and I kept on shooting him with it. And he didn't know where it was coming from at first. And when we finally realized it was coming from me, he actually stood up and picked up a chair and tried to throw it at me. My buddy Jimmy jumped in between and like interceded.
Uh-huh.
I jumped over the table and tackled him. He was bigger than me, if you can imagine that. Much bigger than me. He didn't fall down. We actually got into a actual fisticuffs. He threw me so hard into the freaking window in the lunchroom, I thought I was going to go through it, but I didn't. He came and he got right up on me, and he had his backpack, and he was going to like try to hit me with the backpack. And I was like, come on. And like, freaking the cafeteria people came over, and they're like, oh my God, freaking out because we're both giants. And we got one day of in school suspension, one day for that. And we're sitting there and like, I didn't want to talk to him and he didn't want to talk to me. And we're just like, screw you, screw you, screw you. And we're just sitting there. And all of a sudden he comes and sits down next to me. And like, I just like turn to the side. Like, I don't even want to talk to you, man. And then he puts his backpack on the table. He like puts his, his desk right next to mine. And he like opens up his backpack flap and some comics fall out. And I looked down, I was like, X-Men. And I was like, you had me at hello. Like we were just cool from that on. That was actually long before that Jerry Maguire movie came out, but literally it was like the stupidest thing in the world. I'm just like, all right, yeah, I'll read some comic books with you, man. And we walked home after that and we were just cool. Like, who cares? Yeah, so I've actually made peace over it. I'm going to say that's an even better thing than getting into a fight over it.
That should be a -1. Your score should not be 12. It should be 11 now.
What I say it should go up to 15.
You ever trolled? It's funny how everything here like results in a story. I thought this would be like a 5-minute segment.
Man, I'm a storyteller.
I
gotta make you feel like you were there. Like when I'm finished with explain my side of the story, people are like, I feel like I actually went through it.
Remember that Homer Simpson scene when he's leaving the theater and he reveals the spoiler? Like, I can't believe that it was his father. That is a nightmare. When I'm in a freaking theater on opening day, I have my headphones in the loudest. I don't hear what you guys are all talking about because I don't want to know about how Spider-Man died as we were leaving, as we're entering. I mean, have you ever trolled online or gotten a post-war over comics?
Dude, we both have comic book channels.
So in the comment section, I know I've gotten in a yes. 13 for you, 8 for me. Have you ever dressed up as an adult as a comic book character?
I'm technically wearing a pun, and this is a Deathstroke jacket. Come on, man. So plus, yeah, for Halloween, I go out with the kids and whatnot, and I take pictures and post them online. I was Thor most recently. Yeah.
I've got a Superman with the t-shirt with the logo on it. I think that counts because I'm dressing up as Superman.
Close enough.
Close enough for me.
But like, I've actually gone to conventions, like the big ones, and I've dressed up, and stuff like that. Take pictures with everybody, and yeah, definitely.
You ever lied about collecting comics?
How do you interpret that?
Hey, you don't collect comics like a nerd, do you? Oh, no, that's not me. That's how I interpret that. I've never done that. Yeah.
I went to school in the 80s. I graduated in 93. Yeah, you couldn't. Like, everybody knew I was a fighter. I was on the track and field team, and I was in the weight room all the time because of that. And I had friends like, forget about it. I was a martial artist. People respected me and all that stuff. And I still wasn't brave enough to tell people that, one, I played Dungeons and Dragons with some of those nerds over there that if they ever said it out loud, I would break their damn legs.
Yeah, but that's not lying. That's just not admitting the truth.
A lie through omission is still a lie. Right. And I would actually, collect comic books. I couldn't tell people that. I couldn't wear comic book T-shirts back then. You couldn't. You know what I'm saying? You simply couldn't. If you walked into school with something like that, like, no, you weren't respected. Nobody was going to try and, like, hopefully, maybe somebody in the wrestling team. Most of the time, nobody's going to freaking come after me. But still, I didn't want that social stigma of, oh, he reads comic books. That's why in school suspension, Terrell was literally, I think I said his name before. Anyway, he was literally like, like that. Like, it was really on the hush hush. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, look. And I was like, damn. So I would, like, we take a textbook and we put the comic book in the textbook. I got caught by one of by my geometry teacher one time. It was cool because I was acing the class and he's like, could you at least have enough respect to, like, put a book on the outside of that book? He's the one who taught me how to do that, even though I should have just watched Fast Times at Richmond High and known that. But anyway, he's like, put the comic book inside of your geometry book, and this way it looks like, otherwise you're just reading a book in class and it's disrespectful to me. I was like, I apologize, man. I love you, dude. It's just, I know all this work. And he's like, I know, it's cool. And like, he was cool to me. But yeah, I've lied plenty of times about.
Nowadays you're gaming or something like that with a book in front.
Right? And you're openly talking about the latest Avengers movie, and it's like, dude, I grew up in the wrong time. I'm a man out of time.
I never grew up reading comics. I never had to lie, but I could see myself doing that. I got into the hobby recently, and when you're an adult, you don't care about reputation and popularity.
Yeah.
Have you ever flipped or specced on a book? I have bought books knowing that these heroes are going to be a big deal in the future. So yes, that's yes for me.
Yeah, I've speculated on them, but I've never flipped. Like I said, I've never sold my comic books. I've never sold a single comic book in my life. I've worked at a bookstore where we sold comic books, but they weren't my comic books. I never sold any of my comic books.
I'm giving you a yes because you said you spec'd on a book,
Yes.
even though you didn't flip them.
Mm-hmm. They said spick or flip. It's spick.
Have you
Wow.
bought a figure
And suddenly I'm a
statue?
racist. But yeah, you said specked or flipped. Yes, and I have specked, but not flipped. So yeah.
And it's definitely a yes to figures and statues of comic book characters.
What are you talking about?
Talking about the ones behind you.
Oh, what?
I have not ever. Have you ever cried or been angry reading a comic? You just told me about how you got emotional.
Hells yes. Hells yes.
Have
I get
I ever
invested in
cried?
my comics.
I don't think I've ever cried. It should have just said got emotional. Like I was happy at the end of Extermination when Scott Summers was back. Ed Brisson's Uncanny X-Men Annual, seeing that. I got emotional during that, but I don't.
Did you ever get angry?
Have I ever gotten angry?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just disappointed. Like that one scene in Uncanny X-Men 5 that Thompson, Rosenberg, and Brisson all wrote.
Mm-hmm.
When they had all the religions being taken away by Apocalypse, by X-Man, I was like, "What the? Why would you do this? Why this is so negative?"
When you saw the
Kaaba specifically,
Kaaba, yeah.
But I would be just as angry if it was the temples or the other religious figures too. It's
well, they showed two other areas there, a Hindu temple and a Catholic temple. Yeah, I still get, because I showed those pictures. That was part of the previews. They said I still get Muslims. Nobody else, but whatever. I still get Muslims with horrible English. Go and look at the ratio on that video, man. I get people looking there and it's like, why you show this picture such and such and such? Like, because it was part of the previews, bruh. Don't disrespect Islam. It's not disrespecting Islam. It's
no,
picture,
I think it is. Like if you can make a Muslim character like Dust show her hair or something like that, that's not disrespecting the religion. That's maybe just this character and how she's interacting with people. But like a symbol of it disappearing because
never came back. It never came back.
Yeah,
they never showed in the comic books that it came back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what the problem is? That, what do you call it? There are a lot of people of certain religions, and Islam is one of them, that they actually think that it's a holy site and it's protected by God. The Kaaba has actually been destroyed at least 5 times, I think 6 times, in modern recorded history. During the time of the Prophet, before he got his prophethood, he was actually recorded as rebuilding the Kaaba after a fight. Like where they came and they actually damaged the Kaaba and they had to put the stone back in after, the black stone. Remember, there was a big story where like, oh, this is, one of the ways they showed that he was an honorable person even before he got the prophethood. They said, oh, here's what do they call him? As-Sadiq, the truthful one, the one that never lies. He's going to be good because the tribes didn't know who was going to pick the stone up and put it back in the Kaaba. So he came in and he said, how about we put this stone on a blanket, and one person from each, the tribal elders of each tribe will pick it up, and then I'll put it in. And they're like, we can agree with that. Because whoever leader of the tribe had the honor of putting in was the tribe leader. You know what I'm saying? Like the ultimate, tribal leader, whatever. Anyway, so like, the Kaaba has been destroyed multiple times before, even during Islamic times. Somebody took a catapult to it.
Yes.
And
were they wrong to do that? Then so was Matthew Rosenberg or whoever the artist was for drawing that.
Oh, they literally just made it being disappeared to show this person is really bad. I looked at it as like, I don't have any problem with this whatsoever, but I promise you there are going to be people who are going to be upset about this. I was right.
So I'm going to say yes to that. Do you have a comic related?
I've had death threats over showing the stupid thing. I deleted most of those comments. There might actually be one still on there, something like that. But I've had people, saying like, dude, I would kill you if you don't take this off. I'm like, okay.
Comic related tattoo.
No, I don't have any tattoos or piercings or body alterations on me. I don't wear jewelry. The closest thing you say to jewelry is my glasses, but it's prescription. Yeah, I don't wear anything. Don't
I
do
got
that.
the Captain Marvel star. That's right there. No, I don't. I do not. Final scores. Of course, you win. You got 18, and I got 11 out of the 25 questions.
Nice. Not bad. Not bad.
And that's the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You can find me on YouTube, Chillmonger. You can find Professor Bill at Comic Book University.
Hey, and we'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill and Chillmonger. Class dismissed. Oh, that was one of the best ones yet. That really was.